Okay.
Just hit record and we'll just go whenever.
Okay, you're gonna ask a question, right, to get started.
Yeah, okay. So, hey guys, we're back with Mama Beans, and my earring just fell out. It's fine. So, we're just gonna continue our discussion about foster care and being a foster parent. Little Nellie, you want to get up here? She's so comforting to pet though, like while you're talking. Okay, so Bean, what would you want to say to people looking into becoming foster parents? Like, what would you want them to know? Like, what's something that like you would have wished someone would have told you maybe?
Okay, I've always been very flexible, but I think that's one of the biggest qualities that you need as a foster parent, because you can receive calls on a daily basis, weekly basis, visits on a weekly basis, daily basis. You have children who are pulled out of their environment, whether it be good or bad, and placed in your home. And the only way to understand this, I think, is to think of what would it be like if I were sleeping and someone came over and just said, it's time to go, and just pick you up and take you with a plastic bag with very little belongings of yours, and you just leave everything you know, no matter what it is like, whether it's good or bad, and place you in a completely strange environment with strange people. And we all have our own way of living, and it's difficult. I think we need to really think what it's like to live under those circumstances.
Yeah, that's step number one,
yes,
I'd say.
Yes. And I do want to say something specifically about adoption. If you're considering adoption, I think immediately you look into being a foster parent first. Adopting, it's like a match, the perfect match. Every child is a little different. And as I recognized, having 36 foster children, there are, some that just did not match our family, but, we always tried to love them and to comfort them and let them live with us, share our home. But some you just can't live without. And Stephanie, of course, was one of those. And the 4 children that we did adopt, we just couldn't live without them. They were a good match for our family. So I would say immediately go into foster parenting so that you can see if there is a good match for you. Do not expect to go into this fostering for money. I didn't even know, when we first applied, I didn't even know that you did get a stipend for a foster child. We have never made a lot of money ourselves, so that was a real surprise and a good thing, because fostering, especially with your first or second foster child, can cost a lot of money.
And teenagers are expensive.
Teenagers are more expensive because we all know they like, well, especially now, they like technology, they like nice, fun things. A teenager likes to be a little indulged. A baby is a little easier, except for like diapers and all that. Most, I would say pretty much all but maybe 1 or 2 kids came to us at night, and most came with nothing except for maybe a plastic bag with 1 or 2 items in it. When I was fostering, I started a program where we fostered at that Children's Services area for suitcases, so that all children, when they come, they at least have a cute backpack or a nice bag of some type, like a suitcase, so that they can bring their belongings to their placement for foster, a foster home with dignity, rather than a plastic throwaway bag.
That's a good idea too, because if you're a foster kid, I think like, you typically like get moved several times, so it would be good to have something like that too, because I think it's a more dignified way to move your stuff around.
It really is. And we had an overwhelming response and got many, many suitcases and backpacks, so that you can give a child something teeny tiny to bring with them at all their placements, or one placement if that's all that it took. I found that in fostering, most people felt that they were called to be foster parents. They didn't say, oh, I can't think of anything else to do, so let's be a foster parent.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like a calling.
I do too. It is something that I loved. My husband and I loved it. We loved the change. We loved all the different kids. And we did want to adopt others that came to us, but other things came up and they were not adoptable.
Well, you said Steve had kind of a hard time because Steve's very like routine.
He's routine.
And you're more like changeable, adaptable.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
I think you even had mentioned like that was a little bit hard on him, like when a child would leave or when they'd come and things would have to get rearranged and like things like that, because he like seems to be very consistent.
Right.
And so I think for someone like that, being able to be a foster parent is pretty remarkable because he is very like every single day he likes consistency.
Right, he does the same thing every day. So this was really a giving gift that my husband did because by accepting to do this. Now, when you foster, you have to take classes depending on your state, your particular area. You have to take classes on a yearly basis in order to be certified. And they're wonderful. I learned so much about myself, and it's just with the other adult foster parents. The kids don't go. But I really enjoyed that. I think I learned a lot about how the system worked, and I felt very comfortable with that, and I found out about all the different help there was out there for each child.
I have a question because I get asked this a lot because I had mentioned in my like foster care video where I'm talking about all my foster homes, I had said something about religion, and I think it kind of threw people off because I know when I first walked in here, and this was my very first placement, like you guys are Catholic and you have all of your icons and all the pictures and statues and stuff. And I remember thinking, like, this is my childish thinking. I wasn't, developed enough to think otherwise. But I was just, like, worried because I was like, oh, my God, do they not know that I'm not Catholic? Like, to me, it was almost like walking into, like, a Muslim home or something. And I was like, am I going to be able to, like, do this stuff? I don't know. I was very confused. I didn't know anything about Catholicism. And so I felt very overwhelmed. And, like, religion in foster care is one of those things that I personally feel like is a little bit tricky when you're, I'm not saying like don't take kids to church. I feel like people took me the wrong way. I'm just saying like it's one of those things to be aware of, like you're exposed to so many different beliefs, and it's kind of like, how do you then define like what you believe basically, because you're not given that set like from your parents, like this is what we follow, this is what we believe. You're just thrown many things
into it. Yes.
Yeah, so like what would you say about that? Because I know you guys were always communicating with me like this is what we do, and like you made me feel very comfortable like going to church with you guys. And yes, it was a requirement that I went to church with you every Sunday. I went to a private Catholic school, so we participated in church and we talked about church, and like I think it was just a very open discussion. Like, you talked me through it basically and made it to where like I wasn't like an outsider, I guess. Because my understanding, my thinking was like, I'm not Catholic, so how do I participate in a Catholic church?
I understand that. You cannot force an older foster child to go to church with you. And I don't know if you remember this, but we did say you need to go somewhere. We don't care. It can be any religion, and we will make sure you get there. But you need to go somewhere so you can start to, think about yourself, what you want to do. And she said, no, I'll go with you. And that was fine because the whole family went. And we did not want to force it. But we're also not going to stop our belief system for each foster child. So we did offer it and say, there's a church here, this is this faith, this is this faith. You choose one and we'll make sure you get there in addition, to our going to our church. But it's really important that you don't force it. I really, that was, I didn't know she felt like that until this moment. And we've kind of talked about some of it, but not that particular thing. And that's good that she could say what she was thinking at that time. That's really important.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, because I think foster parents a lot of times come from religious backgrounds. Like, they want to do God's work. They want to do good.
Most.
Like, I feel like it's rare that, you come across foster parents who aren't involved in some kind of church. So people are like, well, what do you expect us to do? Like, leave the kids at home alone? We can't leave them home alone. I'm like, no, not at all. Like, I just think you need to be aware that these kids are exposed to so many different things, and just, like, talk to them about it. And like you said, like, let it be kind of, I mean, if it's like a 4-year-old, what are you going to do? Like,
you don't give them that, you don't, that's not usually a problem anyway.
Yeah, so I think it might be more so a thing with, like, teenagers. Like, what do you do if they're kind of rebelling against that, or, they don't, I don't know. Because at that age, like, you kind of want to step into your own belief system.
Right. Well, like I said, we had just 3 kids that were a little older. And one of them, had a little issue because she was raised in a certain faith. And we did take her, or let her go with a friend to church, because that's what she chose. And that was perfectly fine. That worked out really good. But I think you have to be firm as a foster parent, but you don't want to be so demanding that you turn a child off. Like I said, they can choose whatever they want. But I would say at the time, now I have not been a foster parent for several years now, and but during that time, everyone we met, and you do meet a lot of people because of all the training classes you take, I would say 100% of all the people I met who were other foster parents being trained or already foster parents were as a result of feeling that they wanted to serve God through fostering. They felt a real calling. I met some of the most incredible people. Now, maybe there were some that were not, but I would say most people, they have a heart of gold. They do.
Yeah.
They do.
And so, what would you say to people about, like, because I think a lot of people's concern regarding becoming a foster parent is, you get a child and you bond with them, you become attached to them, and then they leave. And so, how do you deal with that side of it?
That,
because you said something to me the other night, and it was like, you don't get into this for selfish reasons.
Yeah,
basically.
You're not doing this. Oh, if you are fostering, don't do it for yourself. You are doing it so that you can provide each child with even one day of a normal home. Somewhat a stable home. So you're not doing it for yourself. If you're doing it for yourself, you might think of another way to provide service. And I do want to tell you, each child that leaves, a little bit of your heart will go with them. It will break your heart each time, and there's some tears, and it's very hard, but you're doing this for them.
You're doing it for the greater good.
Yeah,
so is
you
that
are.
what you
Yes.
keep in the back of your mind whenever
Yes.
you feel like that sadness? Like,
Yeah.
how do you cope with the loss of a foster child?
Well, now I will tell you, each time I did it differently. With Stephanie, in the first tape, you heard that I cried, and I ran in and redid her room right away. I just needed to do something physical. With another one, this was a younger child that we had from birth for a little over 2 years, and we were planning on adopting her, and family came forth from another state. So she was going with them. Well, we even got to name her, which is unusual, but because they could not find family. Anyway, when she left, and we loved her family and kept in touch for years, but when she left, I actually ran down the street, and I just kept running after they turned out of sight. I just kept running. Running was a way of my dealing with her loss. It was so profound for me. And others, sometimes I would just write letters, knowing that the child would never get them. But there's lots of ways of dealing with that. We've been interviewed by newspapers and TV and all that. And literally every interview and anyone that I met that was curious about how to be a foster parent, literally 100% of everyone asked that question. How do you deal with the loss of a child? If you're doing it for them, you understand that you will have a broken heart. But you love each child as they're there and you go on. But we still do pray for them. Every night I pray for all of the kids that I fostered, and that makes me feel good. And I know my husband does too.
So how did you decide what kind of kids to take into your home? What would be the right fit for you and your family?
Okay. Now I don't know about every agency. Our agency gave us a list in the very beginning before we received our first certificate to approve of us. You had to go through so many hours. And we were given a list, and you could check off what you wanted in a child. Now, I hate to bring that up because it kind of sounds like an order.
Like you're ordering a cheeseburger?
Yeah, you're ordering a cheeseburger. And so it does sound kind of callous and impersonal. But I knew that I could not handle a child who was a fire starter. So I could not accept that.
Wait, hold on. I just want to say, I really liked what you said the other night to me. You said there's a foster parent for every type of child.
Right.
Basically.
Now, I thought, who would ever take a child and say, I'll take a fire starter? Who would ever do that? But when I went to the agency for, these classes, they're usually 3-hour classes. And when I went for those classes, I met people that say, oh, yeah, we have 3 placements right now. They're all 3 fire starters. And I went, what? Or, yes, we take runaways, only runaways. And I go, what? Because we had dealt with that with one child. And I thought, no, I could not do that. But you really carefully think. You're just not going to say, yeah, I'll take anybody. That's not really what we do.
You took in babies and stuff.
Yes,
and so a lot of people probably think I couldn't take a baby. I couldn't take a newborn. So, like you said, there's a fit for every need. Right,
and a lot of the babies that we had came addicted and went through withdrawal. Some were on monitors. Some were failure to thrive babies. We received one little guy, I was told that we had a 2-year-old that was coming to us. Almost 2. I think he was 22 months. And when the caseworker brought him, she brought him all bundled up in a little blanket. And I went, there must be a mistake because we were expecting a 2-year-old. And she said, he is 2.
Aww.
And he looked like he was 6 months old because he was failure to thrive. He did not walk, did not talk, could not sit up. And within a month, he was doing all those things. So that was very rewarding, but I was shocked. I was shocked when I saw this. A failure to thrive baby does not eat. Like I said, is way younger than their years.
So how did you comfort those children when they came to your home? You just hold them?
A lot of holding.
Did people help you? People came and helped and held the babies and fed them and.
When we first started fostering, our youngest child was 7 years old. We have biological twins that are 7, and we had another child that was 10 and another that was 11. That's how old our children were when we first started fostering. We talked to them and asked what they thought about it. They all were very excited about it. That excitement sometimes goes away when an actual child comes, but sometimes it gets, they're very excited and can hardly wait to do something special for this new little brother or sister that's coming. But anyway, what was the original question?
Well, okay.
Oh, what do you do? Okay.
Yeah, what do you do?
Okay. Well, first of all, they call and they'll say, Mrs. White, are you willing to accept a little boy who's 2? And you go, okay. And I would ask my kids, what do you think? And they go, yay! And I would call my husband, because I think that's, the proper thing to do.
Let him know.
We're in this together.
Yeah.
And he said, you're the one who does most of the care since I work, so I will leave it up to you, is what he usually said. And so the caseworker would come and bring the child, and right away I knew my commitment. I knew what I needed to do. I was going to sleep on the sofa or in the bedroom with that child for at least a week. Some of the babies, if they were on a monitor, I did not want to interrupt my husband's sleep, so I slept with them on a sofa or in a bedroom for up to 3 months because the monitor would go off all the time. That's really important to know. So when you're trying to figure out what kind of child can I actually accept and really care for, think about it. It's not a shortcoming if you can only accept 1-year-old boys who are good sleepers. I don't know. I'm just making that up. But you have a list, and they ask you, boys between this age and this age, boys between this age and this age, and you go all the way up. And they'll ask, do you want or can you care for a child transracially? That was never an issue for us. In fact, we did adopt 3 African American children. Our black children are grown now. They're wonderful. I just don't know. I mean, we got them when they were babies, newborns.
So like, what kind of challenges did you run into with that, having interracial children?
Okay, having interracial children was never an issue. What it was an issue is when we went out in public, and you're talking 20 years ago, I always had people come up to me and thank you for what you're doing. And I thought, oh, that's a little weird. But I just said, you know what? I am getting so much more out of this than anything I could give this child. And I was not being falsely modest. It was the truth. Didn't
you have people say to you, like, I could never do that?
Everybody says that. I could never do that. And I go, oh, really? And I just kind of felt that everybody could be a foster parent, and it took about 15 years for me to realize that's not true. I suggest that you also meet other foster children and maybe have a helpline by calling another foster parent when you're going through difficulties.
Did you have it, like, did you find it easy to, like, meet other foster parents?
Very. Sometimes people would come up to you at the grocery store. Of course, that's the main place I ever went. To the doctor, to children's services for classes, to activities for my older children or the kids if they were school age, and the grocery store. Those were the main places I went. And people would come up and ask all kinds of questions, and I met a lot of foster parents that way, because they'd say, oh, are you an adoptive parent or foster parent? And we would make friends. We would exchange numbers, so that we could help support one another. It's wonderful. I'm still friends with those people.
So, like, how do you think being a foster parent and adopting these kids, like, affected, like, your family? Like, how did that change, like, the dynamic of your family?
Okay.
Like your mom, your kids. Like
okay.
Everybody, because I feel like it affects so many people.
Everybody.
Yeah.
When you foster, and especially foster planning on adopting, you have to keep in mind your whole extended family, because this is going to affect them too. It's not like they're watching you get bigger by pregnancy. They all of a sudden have another niece or nephew. They all of a sudden have another granddaughter or grandson. Your friends now, when they invite you and the kids over, there are more children to invite over. So this does affect everyone around you, and I think you need to keep that in mind. My kids, I think, loved it. And even when they were teens, because, of course, they were younger when we started, and then teens, and then eventually the first 2 left, and, but I think it had a profound effect, mostly good. Our oldest daughter was around 10 when we started fostering, And oh my gosh, she was
loved the
unbelievable.
babies.
She was always holding the babies, begging, "Can we put this baby bed in my room?" And I'll just wake up in the middle of the night. And I went, "What kind of child is this?" She's remarkable. She was remarkable. And then my youngest daughter, who is 7, liked playing with them and helping to set up and, you know, clean their rooms. They love that sort of thing. My 2 boys, who were 7 and 11, enjoyed playing with the kids and, you know, that sort of thing. But playing ball, physical playing more, you know. But, yeah. And my husband, I just think this helped him to grow out of the consistency in accepting change. That was very hard. He gave more than I gave in that aspect because I already accepted change all the time.
What about your mom?
My mother had never, of course, had she never had a black granddaughter or a black grandson. And, but she loved them. And
she always sent out birthday cards.
Always sent out birthday cards, and she always, even to this day, and my mother's almost 90, will say, "Well, how's so-and-so, how's so-and-so?" And have them call me or whatever. And, she loved them just as she would have loved my children that we gave birth to.
Was it kind of hard for her to understand why?
Yeah, she didn't understand quite at first, and then she goes, "Oh, okay, well, we love these kids." It was fine.
Yeah.
At first, it was a little bit of not necessarily a shock, but just a change, because.
And she comes from a different time.
Yeah, she comes from a different time. She's almost 90. She was a lot younger then. I think she was, about 70, about my age. And let's see what else. My aunts and uncles, all very supportive. My brother and nieces and nephews, they all grew up together. The kids, my nieces and nephews and my kids. So it is a joy, but it is very hard work.
So what do you think we need to say? Is there anything else you need to
No, but I would challenge all of you to try to open up your heart and your home to another child. There are so many foster children out there who just need a home. It doesn't have to be perfect, because ours was far from perfect, but you need to know some of these qualities that I mentioned in this tape. And we took them on vacation. We took them on vacation. We took them to places near and far. We taught them to do work around the house, no matter how young they were. We treated them just the same way we treat our children. Get up, don't be lazy in the morning, come help out, these are your chores. But we love you, and we always gave a lot of hugs and kisses. And I'd say that's probably about it.
Aww. Alright, awesome. I hope people feel inspired and feel more capable of becoming foster parents, because I think there's so many people who have a curiosity about it, or they want to do it, but they have a lot of fears and a lot of reservations. And I think being able to talk about it, people can understand that, yes, there's challenges.
Who wouldn't love her, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of gifts to get out of it, but yeah, don't do it for selfish reasons, and do it for the greater good, and I think you'll be fine. Yep. It's a journey.
It sounds
right?
good. It's a journey.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to go. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye. Say bye, Nellie. Bye.